Welcome to Bold Talk series where creativity, leadership, ideas, innovation come together. My name is Ludvik, and today I have the privilege to have a short one-on-one conversation with Zach Bell, co-founder at MyPlace. Zach, great seeing you. Welcome to our Bold Talk series. How are you?
I'm really great. Thanks for having me.
Awesome, man. Great to have you, and thanks for joining me. Zach, give us an overview of MyPlace and what made you start MyPlace in the first place.
So MyPlace is an app that helps you find places to stay around the world based on people that you know. So it's really simple. You download the app, it checks your contact list, and it automatically builds your network of people that you know who and people you have mutual friends with around the world. And I started it by accident. I made a website. I had a place and I was traveling all the time, and I made a website and I put a calendar up on it and I sent the password to 100 of my friends and I said, "This is my house and this is when it's available. Let me know if you want to come stay." I had no interest in renting my house to strangers on the internet. I just wanted friends to come stay, and if I was gone for an extended period, for them to help me cover my rent. Um, and I've been traveling the world for many years now and moving around like many of us have. And I found that my life was made infinitely better by when I would stay with a friend or a friend of a friend. It's just an interesting way, more interesting and authentic way to travel and to see the world. And I think a lot of us nowadays don't travel for like vacation anymore, but we travel for a lifestyle. We're always moving and going to different places. And so it's not for vacations. It's for people who like are moving between cities and spending different times and amounts of times in different places around the world.
Nice. Um,
Yeah.
I did use couch surfing. This was like a long time ago. I'm not sure if it's still around.
Yeah.
Um, Obviously, this is more probably like sharing the whole entire place, or how is it?
It's really so funny you mentioned couch surfing. So Casey Fenton, the founder of couch surfing, is an advisor at MyPlace, and he just
Yeah.
created a couch surfing group on MyPlace. So if you want to do couch surfing, you can join Casey's group. Um, but couch surfing, similar to all the other platforms, everyone on the network is connected to everyone else on the network. And on MyPlace, you're only connected to people that you have a mutual friend with, or if you join a group like couch surfers or different business school alumni groups or different groups that are on the platform, surfers, kite foilers. Um, and then a lot of the platforms that you come across, the way that they're set up is they have a very specific way that they trade. Like couch surfing is all for free, right? It's free and it's like a couch. And there's all these home swapping networks where you have to exchange points or trade points and do one-to-one swaps. With us, we don't participate financially in the transaction, so we just let people do whatever they want to do. So we see a lot of swapping, we see a lot of trading, we see a lot of hosting. Oh, it's your Zach's friend. Yeah, come stay. Um, we don't incentivize the profit of it, and we explicitly remove any people who are running vacation rental businesses from our platform. So on something like Airbnb, the most the most common host on Airbnb, the host that makes up the most amount of their revenue, has an average of 7 properties. So that's not a normal person, right? That's a business.
Yeah.
So we don't allow profiting on the platform. So we call, and if you ask for money, we ask for you to just cover your cost, whatever that means for you, whether that's your mortgage or your rent or the cleaners or whatever you feel is like cost covering. A price, we call it friend price. We ask people to only do friend price because the most common interaction that we see on MyPlace is someone comes and stays, and through the interaction, they're like, "Oh yeah, we have a mutual friend, and we ended up going for drinks, and then they stayed an extra day when I came home," and there's lots of social interaction that happens. But most of our exchanges in the platform are when people are away. It's not guest rooms. It's most often when people are away and they're looking for someone to take their house for a little bit.
Mm. There is a platform out there. I remember one of my team members. She was also kind of like a digital nomad going from one place to another place, and then when she came to, we were doing our conference there, and she came like 2 weeks early. I said, "Why you came here 2 weeks early in Singapore? It's expensive to stay." She said, "Well, I use this platform, and this platform, what it does, like it allows you uh, to take care of the pets of the
Oh yeah, trusted house sitters.
What's it called? Trusted house sitters. Okay.
Trusted house sitter, trusted house sitters and or trusted pet sitters. I think they're the same brand, but they're great. Yeah, you like watch a cat or a dog and you stay for free. We're gonna build a group for that on my place. So for people who want to do that, they can do that inside of groups. So that's
Okay.
the new feature that we're really excited about, is we let people that are in different groups exchange differently. So you can join a home swapping group
Yeah.
and anyone in that group swaps houses with each other. You can join a pet sitting group. So anyone who advertises a house in this is just looking for someone to come for free, um, and take care of their cats and dogs. We got a lot of that.
How
So we're starting to make structure
how
around it
scalable is this? Obviously
infinitely.
we are connected with a lot of people, for example, on Facebook, but how many are true friends, right?
And it really depends on how you define your own trust.
Okay.
So for us, we only go 1 degree out. So it's a friend or a friend of a friend. And we define a friend as someone who you have their phone number in your phone,
Okay.
right? If you have someone's phone number in your phone, or you share a mutual friend who you each have each other's phone number in their phone, it's likely that there's some level of trust there. So we think I mean, I think the platform's infinitely more scalable than something like Airbnb. Because to put your house on Airbnb, you have to be a very specific type of person. You're like, I want strangers to come in here and I want to deliver them a high level hospitality experience. That's just not the case for most people. Do you rent your private home on Airbnb?
I did before, but just for a little bit, and that's it. I didn't go much. Yeah.
But do you let friends stay when you're home or when you're traveling? You ever do that?
I do, depends, but we you know I'm married, right? And so my
Okay.
wife, for example, like sometimes she doesn't want, when we travel, we just leave the place like that. She doesn't want like, someone to come and see the place like it's not to a
Of
standard of
course.
clean or whatever, right? So
So yeah, I mean, it's a different interaction, right? Like I think very few people that I interact with are professional vacation rental hosts with their personal home when they're away.
mm,
But most people that I talk to, while they wouldn't want to do that, they'd be open to having a friend or a friend of a friend come and stay.
yeah.
And especially like amongst people in their 20s and 30s, these people are moving around at a rate that no generation has ever moved before. And if you're in your 20s or 30s and you have, $2,000 to $5,000 a month rent in New York and you want to go to LA for a month or you want to go to London for 2 months, losing out on rent and then also having to stay in an Airbnb that's like $10,000 a month is it's inaccessible. But if you find someone to cover your rent and then you can cover somebody else's rent, then mobility increases drastically. And also people aren't like allowed to Airbnb their houses because neighborhoods don't want to have tourists in them. But when your friends come stay, that's not a tourist. That's like that person makes sense in that neighborhood,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, that
So we actually like reinforce in a positive way what the problem is with Airbnb. The problem with Airbnb is it puts the wrong people seeking the wrong types of experiences in the wrong neighborhoods. Whereas with us, we put more people that the similar type of people that expect to be in that neighborhood, you know? If you're trying to go visit San Francisco and go see the Golden Gate Bridge with your family, you need to be in a tourist neighborhood. If you're trying to go to San Francisco and work, you need to be near a local coffee shop. So it's very different. And your friends you likely live in the neighborhoods where you work. So it just makes a lot more sense.
now, what role does, for example, the customer feedback it plays in shaping your product offering and the growth of the platform?
Everything. I mean, it's everything. I personally onboarded the first 2,000 users to the website. I talked to every single person. Um, I am the help center. I read every single thing that comes in the help center. I read every single email that comes into our community. response. And so a twist on customer feedback. What we look at is not exactly do we look at exactly what someone's saying that they want, but we look at how people use stuff,
Hmm.
right? And if we release a new feature and then all of a sudden I'm getting tons of messages about how amazing my place is, I know that that feature worked. If we do something and I get a bunch of and I see a bunch of stuff come in the help center, I know that we can see under what people, we can see between the lines of what people are saying when we really just look at how they use it. So people have lots of requests for features. We take all of them into account, but we really look at what actually helps people. We prioritize building that. It's a startup. We're a small team. We can't build everything, and we have to really focus on what delivers people the most value. And for anyone building product, I would say what your users tell you that they want is one level of feedback, but what they actually do is the most important part of feedback, and helping them get to an experience that they're actually looking to have, whether or not they can articulate it, is the way that we've gone about doing that. My co-founder is an amazing product designer, so he's led the charge on that process.
Hmm.
We build a lot for ourselves. We're
Yeah,
heavy users of the platform.
yeah. You're like early founders of Airbnb. They were using also their platform too, to live
Yeah,
and stuff.
our
So
two houses are two of the most popular houses on the platform.
nice. It's great. Where is it? Like in
Yeah, or
LA or
were. They were.
like it where? Not anymore,
It's
right?
funny. I used to stay in Ramit's guest room all the time in New York, because it was always empty. And now, because of my place, I can never stay there anymore because it's always full. So
Ah.
I basically built a platform that took my favorite guest room away from me and gave it to all my other friends.
Now, what do you see as the most significant trends that are happening in your space? You mentioned about the behaviors are changing, travels are changing now. People are moving in faster in other places across border. What trends do you see?
Yeah, I think you just touched on it. I touched on it a little bit before, but to dive really specifically into it, if you think back 20 years, most people would work 50 weeks a year and take a 2-week vacation. That has changed radically for that class of people. I don't want to say class, but that area of people who like us, who like have jobs and we go to work. Um, those people are traveling like a quarter to a third of their time, and they're
Yeah,
not traveling for pleasure. So the trend is to look at travel differently, and it's not vacation. I would argue that people go on less vacations nowadays than they used to, but they travel more. So when you look at travel, and people aren't going on work trips, right? You would have like a business trip, and now instead people are like, I go to work in LA for a month every year because that helps me develop my network. It's a better quality of life. I do the same work I'm doing. They're not on a business trip, like they're not writing off their meals. They don't have a per diem. They're still working their same job, and they're not on vacation.
yeah,
So it's a really specifically different way that people are. I wouldn't even call it travel, a different way that they're moving and a different way that they're living. So people who are using MyPlace to look for a vacation, they don't find a lot of like luxury villas and vacation homes, because vacation homes are on Airbnb or VRBO. But if you travel as a way of life, that's the way that's where we're really helpful for people.
yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. I remember in early days in Airbnb, I was one of the probably the biggest users because I was traveling a lot for the business that I was in different countries doing different conferences and all that and speaking at the conferences. So it was for me, it was like live and work in a way. And I probably
Yeah.
had for like almost 2 years. I didn't have a home. I was just using Airbnb, literally. That was my life, probably like 10 years ago.
I loved the early days of, I was the same as you, man. I
Yeah,
loved the early days of Airbnb.
yeah,
I was able to have two apartments in New York and LA, and I could afford to live in both of them, and I could travel outside of them. And I wasn't charging crazy prices. I was just kind of getting my rent covered so that I could continue to have places. That's what we're building. And that's the community that we built.
yes,
And
exactly.
the way that we structured the network is so that it doesn't turn into Airbnb.
Yeah,
Now, again, Airbnb is amazing. I use Airbnb. If I need a 7-bedroom villa in like Costa Rica for a week with friends, I use Airbnb. But
yeah,
if I'm going to LA for a week, or if I'm going to LA for a month, or New York, San Francisco, London, we're popular. It's easy to look at where we're popular, right? We're popular in New York, LA, San Francisco, London, Miami, Lisbon, and Mexico City, and Paris. These are hub cities of people who are living. And we're not popular in vacation destinations because those people all just use Airbnb
yeah,
because they get
yeah,
as much money as they can during the high season for their houses.
yeah, yeah. And now it's probably very, I think like in terms of pricing, it's like getting closer to like staying in a hotel in a way in some places.
It's actually often more expensive.
Yeah,
And if it's not more expensive, it's the same price
yeah,
with wildly. I don't stay in Airbnbs. If I'm just going somewhere for a week and I can't find a friend who has a place that can host me on my place, I'll 100% stay in a hotel. Because if I'm going to pay two, $300, $400 a night, and I want my bed to get made in the morning, I want to have breakfast, I want to be able to get tea and coffee, I want the services. I don't like with Airbnb, like you got to take out the trash. You
yeah.
know,
You have to
and
follow the rules.
you're not building that community, you're not building that community connection anymore, like the whole point is to not talk to your host,
Yeah,
not talk to your guest. It
yeah,
used to be so different. So if you could think of the early days of couch surfing and the early days of Airbnb, where it's all about connecting a global community and a new way of travel and a new way of movement, that's what we're doing.
yeah,
And we never set out to do this. This kind of took over our lives accidentally.
yeah.
It's just so much our
Now,
lifestyle.
nowadays, you don't even see the host because everything is like instructions. You know the key is in it's in a lock and in the lock box and it's like literally it's just you go in and out. You don't even.
You go to those places and you like in New York or like London, you go to those places and there's like a fence outside and there's like 400 lock boxes, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah, yeah. I was like, what? Oh, wow. This is like a
Yeah,
booking.com
it's like, oh, this
place.
entire building is an Airbnb, you know? So I have a neighborhood. I have a little spot in Baja, Mexico,
Yeah.
and there's this new neighborhood that just got built during COVID, and I call it the downtown Airbnb quarter. It's like all these houses, they all look the same. Nobody lives there. No one in town knows anyone who lives there. They're all
Yeah.
Airbnbs, and it's just kind of soulless. But I don't want to make this about not like negative on
Yeah.
Airbnb. This is just different.
Yeah.
Like this is we we made this for us, and we travel and live differently on the planet now. That's the trend, right? We are the trend. Anyone
Yeah.
listening to this is the trend, and we just need better tools. Like, how many times have you said, I know, I know, I know someone who can hook me up with a place to stay in New York?
Yeah.
Like, if I could just figure it out, like I know someone in my phone, and but you're not going to post on Facebook.
Yeah.
Um, so that's what MyPlace is for. Like, post on MyPlace, and you'll find somebody.
Yeah. I'm gonna try it, man. I'm gonna try it. I'm gonna try
Try
it.
it. And what's fun about MyPlace, we tell people, is it's free to download, it's free to use. Obviously, there's exchanges between the hosts, but like there's no cost to using it. And as more of your friends join, your network gets better. And it's
Yeah.
personal to every person. So we encourage people to come on, and if they don't have many friends, just like post on Instagram about it, get your friends on there, and it'll just be because it's a one-to-one network, every one of your friends that joins replicates your network like at least 5 to 10x outside of your in
Nice.
personal network.
Nice.
So it's really fun.
So Zach, this is a short format. Love to have this conversation in a longer format, probably sometimes in the
Of
future.
course.
What does a word bold mean to you?
Bold to me, when I hear it, is like standing up. in full power in the face of something that is new. That's what it means to me. I hear it saying, you know what? I'm going to do it this way, different than the other way that things are being done.
Yeah.
How did I do?
Yeah. It's it's a step into an unknown. This is what it takes, right? So I like that. It's the courage that people. Um, it's obviously I think it's first it's that's why our mode is like know your power, right? So if you know your power, you're able to step up into the uncomfortable zone.
I often think that a lot of the entrepreneurs I'm friends with or th people that do the unknown things are maybe sometimes, myself very much included, less bold and more stupid.
Hmm.
We just don't know what we're about to do. And so with the unknowing, you're like, it sounds easy. I'm just gonna do it. And then you have no idea what the world's gonna throw at you. But we
Yeah.
stay with it, you know?
Well, I mean,
It's kind of funny.
thank God that we don't know. I mean, there's a really a data. It's like I don't know where I read this, but this is like people who study finance and who study business administration, 90% of them they never start a business. And the reason why is
Totally.
because
Yeah,
they
because they would
know
never
how
do
hard
it.
it is. Yeah.
Totally. Yeah, if
So,
you knew how hard it was, you'd never do this. You know, it's it's really the unknown that keeps driving people into acts of creation, I think.
and with that,
I call it I would say it's like insatiable curiosity helps me do the things that I do.
definitely.
I'm like, oh, I'm just curious what that's like. Can I do this? I want this. Everything I've ever created, I get frustrated by the fact that it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
And that's what makes me do it. I'm like, let me just try.
And here we are today. So, Zach,
Here we
listen,
are.
it's great conversation. Always be bold. Congrats on your stepping up and persevering and pushing things forward. Thank you for joining me on this Bold Talk series and look forward to seeing you soon again. Until next time, take care, be great, and be bold.
Thank you so much. Great to
Cheers.
have, great to be here.